But Hagrid, how am I to pay for all this?
Well, there's your money, Harry. Gringotts, the wizard bank.
Does Mr. Harry Potter have his key?
We're relying on you, Griphook.
Vault 687.
If you get us past the guards and into the vault, the sword's yours.
They're goblins, Harry.
Hell, that's the Ukrainian Ironbelly.
Clever as they come, goblins are not the most friendly of beasts. Didn't think your mum and dad would leave you with nothing now, did you? It's about you know what.
Lamp face.
Vault. You know which.
The thief's downfall.
Thief!
Washes away all enchantments.
Ain't no safer place. Not one. Except perhaps Hogwarts.
There are some LEGO sets that make perfect sense, like the modular buildings, the Star Wars helmets, or the flower bouquets your mum buys with the excuse that they're more practical, despite the fact that they still somehow end up covered in dust. And then there's this. Because someone at LEGO, apparently, woke up one morning, drank 12 Red Bulls, watched The Deathly Hallows Part 2, and said, you know what this modular building needs? A gigantic underground roller coaster cave system with a dragon exploding through the roof and enough vertical height to require planning permission. And somehow, against seemingly the laws of physics, they actually made it. It's Philosopher's Stone upstairs, Deathly Hallows downstairs, it's a modular building, it's a display model, it's a playset, it's a cave, it's a dragon's perch, it's essentially a handful of LEGO designers refusing to accept the norm. And honestly, I kinda love that. 4,801 pieces, £370, that's $420, and before we go any further, I should tell you it retires very, very soon, so this is less of a review and more of a rescue mission. I am qualified to talk about this, by the way. I'm a massive Harry Potter fan, I even know what spew is, so this is serious business. Now, it is also home to what may genuinely be the worst sticker LEGO has ever produced. You know the one, you know who, the sticker who shall not be named. We'll come back to that horror a little bit later in the video. If you're new around here, subscribe, like, all of that stuff, it helps enormously for a new channel like mine. First of all, the box art here is very good. Now, admittedly, we're still dealing with modern adult LEGO packaging, which means fundamentally it is just a large black rectangle trying very hard to look expensive, but it just looks so clean and the packaging actually made me want to buy it, so thumbs up for the LEGO marketing team. You've successfully manipulated me. Again. Opening the box, there's no artwork or large movie screenshots like we're accustomed to seeing on UCS Star Wars sets, which is slightly disappointing. Inside the box you get 4 instruction manuals, 3 sticker sheets, 2 cardboard sleeves and a partridge in a pear tree. You also get the track pieces and a large 32x32 base plate which will hold the modular style Gringotts building and which itself will be suspended above the lower vault section. Most modular buildings begin the build with something standard like, here's a pavement. This set begins with construct a goblin tunnel network, which already tells you everything you need to know about LEGO's design philosophy with this set. Now, I'm just finishing the main underground section at the moment, and it's a very strange experience. On the one hand, it has to look good with proper rock work, cave textures, stalactites and stalagmites, which one's which? Who cares? And on the other hand, it also has a completely separate job, which is to hold up an entire wizarding bank. So you end up building this framework of interlocking cross structures. The result is rock solid. The council should be using this for the foundation of future motorway overpasses. I'll be testing that theory of how strong it is later by swinging the completed set around the studio. If it collapses, that's also decent YouTube content, so really it's a win-win either way. Down here you also get this brilliant spiral roller coaster track for the Gringotts cart. You're essentially building a small railway through a bank vault complex, which is exactly the kind of sentence that makes you remember that Harry Potter was genuinely a bonkers ride from start to finish. The cart itself is nicely done with decorative oversized wheels on the sides matching the films, and then real rolling mechanism underneath the cart and a little front lamp. You can actually pause it at each vault along the way down, which stops it from being purely decorative and makes it feel like something you can actually use and play with. My one complaint for the cart is that it only fits 2 minifigures, which means you can't properly recreate the Philosopher's Stone scene with Harry, Hagrid and the Goblin, let alone the Deathly Hallows version where it feels like half the wizarding world is packed onto the back of the cart. Ideally, of course, the cart would also go upside down on the tracks at some point as it does in the film. LEGO didn't do this. I understand why, that would have been difficult to pull off. One of the most eye-catching parts of the underground is the waterfall, and when I first saw pictures of this set, I just assumed the waterfall was purely decorative, a splash of blue to break up all of the brown rockwork, but of course it isn't. This is the Thief's Downfall from the Deathly Hallows, a magical waterfall that strips away Polyjuice disguises and removes the Imperious Curse. What I particularly liked, and this is a small thing but it matters, is that the instruction manual for this set are genuinely excellent. LEGO has scattered information panels throughout as you build, so when you reach the waterfall section, there's actually a little explainer about the Thief's Waterfall right there on the page. There are about 15 of these little panels throughout the 4 manuals, and it means you don't accidentally build past something significant without realising it, which at this price point feels like exactly the right call. Built into the central support column are the 3 key vaults, and they don't just sit flat, they actually wrap around the pillar, which gives the whole underground section a sense of depth and makes it feel like an actual sprawling network rather than a flat wall of doors. The first vault is vault number 687, the Potter Family Vault, which, after you get past the door sticker, opens to reveal what is a disappointingly shallow room compared to what we see in the film. It's basically an unusually wealthy airing cupboard, and while I was disappointed with the inside of the vault, Harry won't be, of course, seeing all that money to spend on Beanie Babies or whatever it was kids were into in the 90s. Next is Vault 713, and it has a red diamond element inside for the Philosopher's Stone, which sits in the vault looking rather pleased with itself. Someone online pointed out that the LEGO sack element would have been a more screen accurate element to use here since the stone is wrapped up in the film. They're probably right, because if someone was building this who'd never seen Harry Potter, they'd have no idea what the sack is. By the way, Nicholas Flamel, real person by the way, a genuine historical figure connected to the myth of the Philosopher's Stone centuries before Harry Potter was written. I only discovered this while researching this video. I'm going to choose to believe that none of you knew that either. Comment down below if you did. I won't believe you. And then at the bottom we get to Bellatrix's vault, which is different in a lot of ways. Firstly, the door has this chrome effect sticker using negative space to show a minifigure hand, which is a reference to the hand mechanism that they used to open the vault in the film, which is a really cool design. And this vault actually has some actual depth and a backdrop sticker implying that the room extends further back, and we have the Hufflepuff cup right at the front. But the best thing about this is the play feature. If you touch the goblet, it triggers a cascade of duplicating jewels, of course referencing the duplication charm on Bellatrix's possessions, which is exactly the kind of detail that makes you genuinely grateful for whoever was in that design meeting, and it makes me grin from ear to ear. The only downside is that reloading it requires picking up each jewel and packing it individually, which feels like a mechanism designed by someone who actively dislikes you. But brilliant, genuinely brilliant play feature. Down at the bottom of the set you'll find a feeding schedule, a large pooper scooper, and the leftovers of a previous meal, all of which confirms that this is in fact the lair of the dragon. The Ukrainian Ironbelly held here in barbaric conditions. The dragon is a genuinely great inclusion, made up of posable ball joints, a printed face, a movable lower jaw, and built-in clips so that you can attach Harry, Ron and Hermione to recreate the escape sequence. And that is something that LEGO have done beautifully throughout this set. They're thinking about Gringotts' key moments, not just what does this look like, but they're thinking what would people actually want to display. The answer for me is I want to display the dragon bursting out of the bank with the trio clinging on for dear life, not a dragon sitting underground like it's on its lunch break. My one complaint with the dragon, and I've been told this is just me, which I dispute, is the fact that the dragon looks slightly unfinished, like a Technic frame someone forgot to panel over. Posing the dragon on top of the building too, breathing fresh air for the first time just like in the film, is absolutely the correct way to display this. Yes, you can put it down in the caverns if you enjoy animal cruelty. LEGO will even provide you with 2 sets of clankers to assist with your sick ways, you weirdo. Leaving the underground behind, we arrive at what is essentially a modular building in its own right on the top half of this set. The top half doesn't lock into the cave section with pins or any joints, it just sits on top, guided by a few corners. It's a bit like someone's balanced a Georgian bank on top of a geology project, and we're all just here just hoping gravity's feeling cooperative today. And yet, it is unbelievably sturdy. You can pick this thing up wave it around and nothing falls off, which, given how this thing looks, is just marvellous. 10 out of 10 for swooshability. And before we get to the Gringotts bank properly, a quick word about the dingleberry hanging off the side of the main build, the magical Menagerie shop. It is thin. It's so thin, in fact, that in the same footprint they've managed to squeeze in both this shop and a narrow alleyway. In a normal modular building, I'd say this small building would feel like a bit of a poorly designed afterthought, but in the Harry Potter world, where buildings are often crushed into random tiny spaces, the slightly impossible proportions of this shop actually work. The shop front is also colourful, characterful, and dotted with fantastical creatures, and the Easter eggs in here are quietly wonderful. There's even a tiny spider with a pink brush, because in the Harry Potter world, the magical Menagerie apparently sell fang brushes, and LEGO have gone and built one rather than just sticking a poster on the wall. Turning to the main building, from the outside, this main building is instantly recognisable as Gringotts, even from across the room, which, for a display set, is the only thing that truly matters. The white striped brickwork looks fantastic, very Georgian, very similar to the techniques used on the Sanctum Sanctorum. The walls aren't flat either, they're subtly bulged outwards in places, which helps recreate that slightly impossible, slightly wrong wizarding architecture. There are also some smaller details, for example a wonderfully crooked drain pipe with a little water droplet at the bottom, just really makes it feel real. There's owls on the wall and a goblin peeking out through one of those curtained windows. The windows are stickers, which I don't enjoy, but that's because of the complexity of having square windows on the outside and arched windows on the inside, which is what we see in the films. The leaning pillars at the front of Gringotts give it that warped, off-kilter look from the films. I should mention, I spent about 20 minutes convinced LEGO had got the lean direction of the pillars completely wrong. I had my boxing gloves on, I was ready to complain about it as I was writing this script, and then I discovered that the pillars lean in different directions depending on which film you're watching. So at that point I calmed down and invoked the thought that if staircases can move in this universe, pillars can too, and we can all just move on. The pillars are slightly slimmer than I had imagined they'd be. I always pictured the chunky, heavy looking columns, so I was slightly disappointed to see skinny fries here, and the clips holding them in at an angle are a little exposed. So it might have been better if those clips were covered to look a bit cleaner. However, these are minor complaints against a very good looking front face of the building. Now though, we need to talk about the sticker. LEGO somehow managed to split the word Gringotts across two stickers, so instead of a clean sign above the entrance, you end up staring at Gringotts. How hideous is that? I spent so long trying to work out what to do with it. I eventually considered cutting the sticker myself, which for me is basically the LEGO equivalent of Walter White finally saying, "Fine, I'll cook. LEGO, look what you've pushed me to." I genuinely think that this is something that will ruin the set for many. If you're put off buying the set because of this sticker, I seriously don't blame you one bit. Many adults looked at this design and thought, yep, that looks good, centre print, which is just baffling. The building interior is accessed from the open back, and it's excellent. The floor tiling is really nice, although I don't care for the chrome windows. I think they look a bit silly. Also, in the films, the goblins' desks would run in parallel, two long parallel rows, which you have to walk through to reach the main counter. Here the desks are pushed to the side at odd angles, presumably because of the building's odd shape. It's the one interior detail that just doesn't look quite right to me, especially because I think everyone remembers the desks being parallel. Everything else though is strong. The individual desks are beautifully built with elevated studs at the back so goblins can sit at the right height. They have little lamps on each one, and the desks themselves are fully removable so you can pose the scene. Separately, the cracked stone columns are printed rather than stickers, and the chandelier, which LEGO absolutely could have omitted, is here, and it looks pretty decent for something about to be headbutted by a dragon. There's also a small mezzanine which has some treasure splashed about and some hidden Easter eggs, including this portrait of a goblin minifigure from the first LEGO Gringotts set, showing off the nightmare fuel that was those original moulded heads. Up top, the dome opens to reveal a small office crammed with Easter eggs, including a blackboard of Roman numerals referencing previous Gringotts set numbers, as well as older LEGO coin molds still in their holders. And I do remember those old gold coins really fondly. I think they would have looked so much better in Harry's vault compared to the studs that they used. Although by using those studs, it did mean that they were able to stack them, recreating the way they look on screen. In the building, there's also, somewhere in the build, a mug that no living human will ever see again, because you'd have to take 90% of the set apart to find it. The next person that's going to lay eyes on that thing will be an archaeologist in 300 years. I know it's there, the instruction manual told me to put it there, but it's lost to the Gringotts foundations. At 370 quid, I'd honestly rather have a cheaper set than a mug I can't find. The set has an amazing 13 minifigures, so let's quickly move through them. The standouts are Hermione disguised as Bellatrix and Ron as Dragomir Despard. Both use dual-sided head printing with alternative hair pieces, so on the front you get the characters in their disguises, then once they've been waterfalled, which I'm officially coining as the term for when they've splashed through the thief's downfall, you sweep everything around to reveal the soaked post-waterfall versions underneath. Simple, clever, the best kind of LEGO design. Bellatrix especially looks extraordinary. The printing, the expression, the torso detail is great, and the beaded bag from the Deathly Hallows is included as a separate little build, which is a lovely touch given the bag essentially becomes a portable storage unit for the entire plot. Adult Harry completes the trio, though his alternate expression is inexplicably furious. He looks like a man who's just seen a LEGO set he wants is retiring, otherwise a great fig. Kid Harry from the Philosopher's Stone is genuinely lovely. The checkered jacket, the joyful expression, you look at it and you're immediately back in 2001, back when the biggest threat was playing chess against a disgruntled teacher. And protecting Harry, we have a standard Big Fig Hagrid, who's the only figure who isn't 100% exclusive to this Gringotts set. 5 goblins are included in this set, and here are 4 which are just sort of the background characters, and they're some of the best background character minifigures LEGO has ever done in the Harry Potter line. They have formal attire printed all the way through, which looks sharp, and they have great ear and hair molds. The snarling alternate faces tip slightly from fierce goblin into angry garden ornament, but the main expressions are excellent. Bogrod, the head teller, has an alternative burned face, which he displays for about 0.04 seconds in the film before being reduced to ash. What would have been more useful would have been an alternative face which showed him under the Imperius curse, you know, when he has that blissful, glassy-eyed look, since that's how he looks for 90% of his on-screen time. Quite a baffling decision not to do that by the designers. The 2 security guards are folded in here for completeness. The male guard reuses an extremely generic head, while the female guard reuses that Reaver head. So one day she's protecting the Wizard Bank, the next she's getting hate from Star Wars fans. Pretty standard stuff. The set also comes with a Death Eater, which is a very cool minifigure, but I'm not exactly sure why they're included in this Gringotts set. But let me know in the comments if there's something obvious which I'm missing here. Grip Hook rounds out this cast of minifigures, and he looks great. He comes with the sword of Godric Gryffindor, still one of LEGO's best moulded accessories, and printed arms which are just so detailed. The pinstripe shirt continues all the way down and looks especially good. That's the type of thing that makes a figure feel polished. So what is this set? It's a Georgian bank balanced on a goblin cave system with a traumatized dragon on the roof and 13 minifigures doing their best in and around it. It almost looks like the Sanctum Sanctorum wandered into the wizarding world and decided to become a financial institution. The whole thing looks like it shouldn't be able to hold itself up, and yet it is completely solid. The building techniques throughout are excellent. There's lots of snot work, especially on the exterior panels. Awkward angles are everywhere. There's rock work that stays interesting across all 40 bags. The designers were clearly trying to make their own lives difficult, and the finished product reflects that in the best possible way. Now, the price. £370 is eye-watering, there's no getting around it. The price per piece is around 9 pence per piece, which sounds reasonable until you remember that reasonable price per piece count doesn't matter much when you're facing a £370 price tag. At that price point, you're probably in the position where you can only pick up one large LEGO set. The obvious comparison is the Hogwarts Castle. Sure, it's a more iconic location, but it dominates a room. Gringotts is vertical and therefore has a smaller footprint, a larger presence, and it is minifigure scale, which means a lot to me. Which one is right for you though depends entirely on your shelf situation. Some people argue that LEGO should have split this Gringotts set into 2 smaller sets and sell the modular bank upstairs by itself as a modular building for £250 so that people can just complete their Diagon Alley if they want to without having to pay for the underground section that may just go wasted. And then LEGO could have sold the underground separately for say £100 for people like me who love the way it looks here and want both sections. And I absolutely understand the argument, but I think it completely misses the point. This set isn't trying to be sensible. This is the LEGO designers being given a brief and refusing to take the boring option. We will get plenty of normal modular buildings in the future, and we won't often get any which are as unique as this. So then, should you buy it? Well, here's the thing. LEGO have taken what should be a straightforward modular building and turned it into something completely extraordinary. It is too tall. It's too expensive. The sticker that shall not be named is a bafflement quality control. The cart only holds 2 people when the scene requires more. And somewhere in this £370 LEGO set, there's a mug that no living human being will ever see again. And yet, they haven't just made a Gringotts set, they've made the Gringotts set. The one that makes you forget about the price, the one that makes you forget about the sticker, and the one that makes you forget you've got no shelf space. It retires soon, and when it does, the secondary market will be absolutely feral. So the real question isn't whether this set is worth buying. The real question is, can you live with knowing you didn't? Thank you for watching. One final thing, my original cut for this video was approximately 1 hour long. I had to whittle, hack and compress my way down to what you've just watched. There are whole sections on building techniques, Easter eggs and the gift with purchase, and my thoughts on several minifigures that ended up on the cutting room floor. If you want the full, unhinged, completely unedited version where I go through every single thought I had about this set, I may well upload that separately. Consider it a director's cut or the collector's edition, whichever feels appropriate. Link in the description as and when I put it there. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this sort of review. New set reviews are coming out regularly. A recent review I'm rather proud of is the LEGO Jaws review. Check that one out, hopefully you find it entertaining, and I'll catch you all on the next one.